Welcome to Enhancing the Accountant Bookkeeper Connection series featuring Akata Accounting and my wonderful friend, accountant, colleague, brother from another mother, and probably soon to be, now that we're hitting that, I have a feeling that, my husband and Jonathan are probably going to become, what's that, mandates, or have mandates and such.
She's been trying to set us up for a bit.
Well, you guys are so much alike. And that was right after, both you and Rod, said to me pretty much the same things after you guys like connecting in Vegas. You're like, why didn't we just spend more time together? So yeah, you guys have to come up fishing. So, and I'd love to spend more time with Julia. So, hey, if you guys want a weekend away, an open invitation. It's just throwing it there. Just let me know.
How's August looking? No, I'll be in touch.
No, seriously, anytime. Rod's now, we've got 2 kayaks. He's got a little fishing kayak with a motor and another one. So you don't even have to bring your boat. We've got a boat, bring it up. We're 2 blocks from a launch. Like it's all good. And then Steve is looking for the diver. It's Kim Steve, who she's answered there. Okay, Steve's coming to Steve. Absolutely. You want to come from BC? Come and join. First off, we have several spare bedrooms in the house. And if we end up with an overflow, our backyard is like literally in between 1/2 acre and 3/4 of an acre. Lots of room for tents and trailers. Or you can go in and, camp. We're 30 minutes from the Sand Dunes, which is one of Ontario's most awesomest parks. And there's stuff anywhere. Anyway, so Steve, come on out. You're allowed. You just let me know. Come on out. I don't fish. Hubby fishes, but he's a good guy. Anyway, let's get started. Elizabeth will be cutting all this out. Sorry, Steve. What's that?
Lake scuba diving. It's always an option. There we go.
Oh, the scuba diving. Absolutely. So that means we got to get Kim up here because I don't scuba dive. Kim's a scuba diver. Got to get her up here then to do the scuba diving with you. Absolutely. And then, yeah. So, all right. So let's get started here. So, hello, I'm Tanya Hild, CPB, AIA, and I'm here because I am passionate about collaboration. And you can find me at Tanya's Bootcamp on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram, and LinkedIn. We've just got a new LinkedIn page. There's a little bit about me. I know everybody on this call. So I'm just going to continue through that. And I thought I updated this. This is an old one, but I guess I had 2 screens going and I updated on the wrong one. So the one I actually want to share today is from Phil Jackson. It's the strength of the team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is the team. And I love that quote. It's so great about collaboration. And, that's exactly what Jonathan and I do on many things is the collaboration. Steve, you came to CPB. I'm so glad you can come in and collaborate us as well. With us because, the accountant and bookkeeper relationship is so unique, but we need to have that trust. And like, I see you everywhere. I saw you in Vancouver now. So I guess that means we didn't scare you away. So that's awesome. Okay. So this webinar does qualify for CPD credits, not actually just through CPD Canada anymore. We now have, all I've done is I changed the wording on the bottom, and this actually will likely qualify as a verified credit through everything because I have to make sure that you're here. We have 2 poll questions. And so CPB is already pre-approved, but anywhere else should absolutely qualify as well. There will be 2 polls that must both be answered in order to qualify and receive your CPD credit to be able to use, and a recording of the webinar and your CPD credits will be emailed within 2 days. There were some issues with some of the previous ones. We got that straightened out. Hopefully everybody got it a couple of weeks ago. I don't know what was happening. There was something blocking them from going through in the back end, got my tech person involved. If you're still missing any, please reach out, let me know, but otherwise they will be going out this weekend. And important, if you don't receive it and you haven't received it within 48 hours, please don't forget to check your spam. Make sure you did not take us off the mailing list if it's not in your spam. and just simply click to subscribe at bookkeepersbootcamp.ca. You enter your email address. It'll send you an email to verify. That'll make sure you're on our list. So if you're still on our list and you're not receiving it, it could be something else in the back end, and I'm happy to troubleshoot all of that. It might be on our end, might be on the mail. I know I've recently found out with emails that I was not receiving that Microsoft through our Office 365 was automatically quarantining emails. It felt should be quarantined, whether there were links or attachments or anything. So it could be something in there, could be something on our end, but please reach out. Okay, and wonderful Jonathan Carter, founder and principal accountant of CATA Accounting Solutions. So we've been collaborating with Jonathan and his team for a number of years. We have multiple mutual clients. I am proud to say I am his client as well. He does my corp tax return. I completely trust him on anything, you know, personally, professionally. He works in QBO, which makes it great. So we don't get these, you know, year-end accounting or adjusting entries from the accountant that says, you know, here, make this change to, you know, AP or AR, and not understanding why we need details as to, you know, why that's changing. Jonathan and his team are great for attention to detail and outstanding customer service, which is why I continue to work with him. And Jonathan, I will stop sharing and pass it over to you, and you can take it away. Oh, and he's gone. Nope, he's here. Severe choppiness.
But before we go too far, I just want to make sure, yeah, is it still choppy for everybody? Can everybody hear me?
We can now, but it was like the Simpsons to get you to, or sorry, the Simpsons, the Chipmunks to get you to catch up. So, but you're here now.
I'm going to leave and come back. I'll
Okay.
be right back.
Sounds good. Okay. So while he's gone, is there anything anybody's been excited about recently? Again, conferences, the fact that tax season is over. Yeah, agreement from Karen, tax season being over. So I was gonna say, I didn't see you in Calgary. Were you there, and did we just miss each other? Because you're Alberta, right, Karen?
Sorry, couldn't find my mute button.
That's okay.
No, I wasn't there, unfortunately, and it was only just sort of down the street from us, but
Yeah, I thought you were, because that's where you and I first met at a Calgary
exactly,
conference
yeah.
years ago.
It was a long time ago, yeah.
Yes.
No, I wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. There was just too much going on.
Right.
Yeah.
I was
I
gonna say,
understand those
I
feelings.
didn't think, but okay, Jonathan, you're here. We can hear
I'm
you.
back. I can hear
back.
you guys, which is good. Sometimes, you know, first rule of IT, and it's so fitting, today's topic, turn it off and turn it back on again. Solves a lot of problems. So I'm Jonathan Carter, founder of CATA Accounting. I was a member of the inaugural Intuit Accountants Council. Still love to do work with Intuit. That company really has changed my career path drastically. I was a recipient of the 2018 Inspire Accountant Award. K2E Enterprise, that's the Alan Salmon Group, if anybody is familiar with it. We are Elite Pro Advisors. I am QBO Advanced Certified, as well as about half the team. Everyone on the team is QBO Basic Certified. I made the Insightful Accountant Top 100 2021 and 22, and I love working with bookkeeping firms. It's actually funny because I recently had an experience where there was a very combative relationship right off the bat with a bookkeeper. And I realized, man, I am spoiled by this community. I am so spoiled by this community. But yeah, it was just, it really took me aback. I was like, oh, okay. You know, anyway, today we're talking about the tech stack, stuff we all use. We're going to go through what is the tech stack. We're going to talk about app overload. I'm sure everybody here has had app overload at one point or another in their life. Operating systems, document management, communications, bookkeeping, accounting, tax, security, and then talk about some other fun tools. And I really hope this is interactive because I think everybody here is on the same page when it comes to using technology. And that makes a huge difference when you're collaborating together. One of the files I filed this morning is in a Sage desktop. And I still don't have verification that the adjusting journal entries have been input or that the closing numbers match the tax return, but it had to be filed, had to be done. So c'est la vie, we'll just have to clean that up next year. So what's the most important component of your tech stack? I'm curious, this is definitely an opinion related item. There's no correct answer to this one, but you're gonna have to make it so that panelists can vote.
Right. And I forgot to do that. So I'm sorry, guys. Again, coming back from, give me 2 seconds, don't get that in there. Maybe we can kind of talk out loud about this while I enter this. I just got back literally very late Saturday night from being off for 2 weeks. So it's I'm still not right.
Jonathan,
back to the
I
full-
find document management just by far and away the most important. It is the foundation where everything else is. Your software, your security, everything, communications, it all ties to being able to find stuff. Information is only valuable if you can find it, and that was the biggest challenge we had when we revamped in like 2015, when we revamped everything and went through mostly a digital filing system, but the file naming convention, in order to do the data document management, you have to have it and you have to use it consistently.
Yes, because it's so important and it's such a boring subject, but we're powered by Google Workspace. And for us, I guess I should move this so people can't see my.
Sorry, and I've got to relaunch the poll because I have to allow participant or the panelists to vote. So no, still didn't work. Allow panelists to vote. Okay.
Like, we're powered by Google, so it's fantastic if stuff is labeled correctly. If it's not, forget about it. But recently we're working on a file, and the gentleman, he uploaded all his statements in a zip file. Great, no problem. They're labeled Jan, Feb, March, April, and so on. And there's 10 years worth of statements over 5 accounts. So there's like I literally, I feel really bad, but one of our newest teammates, Amna, who actually came through Nokique through CPB, she is being sent to task to relabel, I think it's about 50 times. What is that? It's a lot of freaking work. It's a lot of really annoying grunt work, but now it has to be done also because some of those files are missing. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure everybody here has gotten something. It's like scan 001, scan 002, scan 003. It's just like, this is meaningless to us until it's labeled appropriately.
Yeah. I just want to say I kind of agree with Kim. Kim's like, where's the all of the above?
Yeah.
The all of the above, because communications is important. It also needs to be secure within there, that's the receiving the document, the document management, all of that stuff. And yeah, so absolutely.
Sorry, Lynn had a comment here. It just got me. What? DARPA, insect allies or biological weapon? What? I would like
Was
some
that meant for us,
clarification.
Lynn? AI gone wrong. That's all we have to say. I was talking, my phone was not even around me, but I have an iWatch or an Apple Watch, and all of a sudden it picked up conversations, but it made crap up because it wasn't even what we were talking about. It changed all the words and actually sent a message to somebody, and I'm like, what? So same things happened to me, Lynn. It was a bunch of gobbledygook, and yeah.
Do we have poll results?
Yes, we do. So let's end the poll, everybody, and share the results.
Yeah, document management seems to be an overwhelming favorite. I think everybody's on the same page with that. I personally actually selected communications. To me, documentation comes kind of under that, right? Like, it's the number one way we communicate is through files. and through that kind of electronic information. That's just my
Oh.
2 cents.
Sorry, it stopped
Everybody's-
sharing, so I'm just sharing again because Kim said the results were only on there, so I'll just leave them up for a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds.
So the tech stack, I think this is probably elementary for everybody here. It's just the collection of software that you use it's the software, the group of tools that you use to run your business, right? So at the beginning is always the operating system. I am on a Windows PC. I think a lot of people here probably are, but I bet you there's a few on Mac OS. And I bet you nobody here is on Linux. You know, these are some of the different things that are available here. Document management solutions. I know OneDrive is very popular. SharePoint, Dropbox. We're on Google Workspace, which really takes care of a lot of our issues. Security software, we'll get into that in a little bit more detail. I think the most important thing for security is the human element. So we'll talk about that a bit then. And then, of course, you know, your basic, how do you get your work done? Your spreadsheet, word processing, database software, CRM and sales software, bookkeeping and accounting and tax software, OCR software, machine learning software, auto transcription services, translation services. There's all kinds of things that just can keep going and going and going. So when people have too many choices, they make bad choices. I thought this was an interesting quote. And this is definitely something that's happened to me, where it's like, oh, I want to try that squirrel. Ooh, another squirrel. Ooh, another squirrel. And you end up in a situation of app overload. So
Well,
you hear,
sorry,
yeah,
I want to
like-
throw in something really interesting that I found out for something that I do on one of our topics in boot camp was that President Obama, if you look back, he wore the same color suit and tie every single day. And the reason being was to give him less decisions to make.
Yep. It's like there's so everybody probably knows who, I think his name's Tim Ferriss, the 4-hour work week. He's got a whole bunch of the 4-hour this, the 4-hour that type of things. But I mean, yes, removing decisions really helps. Taking 20 minutes to plan your weekly menu, taking an hour to prep stuff ahead of cooking. These things are massive time savers. Knowing what you're going to wear in the morning, knowing what you're going to eat in the morning, knowing what you're going to have for lunch. It's nice to have a little bit of variety, but don't give yourself too much choice, because it just takes bandwidth, right? I mean, how many people here have just sat on like a Netflix or a Prime or something like that, and just an hour goes by, you haven't picked something to
Just
watch.
searching, exactly.
You're just
Or-
looking.
Or as a woman trying to figure out what to wear when I was back in the corporate world, what I ended up doing, because that's it. You sit there, what kind of mood am I in today? And back and forth. And I just basically put everything in and I would just grab in the order. And that was it, to get rid of that decision. And if I didn't feel like wearing that suit, well, then I could go to the one behind it, but that was as far as I could go. And that was it.
Interesting. Just removing those decisions.
Yeah.
So one of the things with app overload is when I first got going, I think it was 2017 or 18. I think it was 2018, right after tax season. I realized I had 29 different apps in my app stack. I was not using all of them. And I was going this place for that place for this, duplicating efforts, things like that. So just some things that I really sat down and considered was what's really necessary. Does the power of the tool suit the business that I'm in? The size of the business, the complexity of my business. Is it priced in a manner that makes sense for you? And how much time and energy is required to implement it and to learn it? And is there a positive ROI? So something that just sucks time out of your schedule, I would immediately discount that. This is all my opinion. This is not direction, this is my opinion. But if something does not provide an immediate time savings after it's implemented, I don't want to do it. If it can provide some fantastic data intelligence and is worth doing a bit more work to implement, it might be worth it. But I've seen companies waste literally millions of dollars implementing tools that were way too powerful for their needs. Let me give you a quick story. So there's a company I know, They do several $1 million in sales a year. They bought a license and they paid for a license for since like 20, I think it was 2018 for Salesforce. And they hired a consultant. They paid the consultant $250,000. It's 2023 and Salesforce is not working for them. That's a lot of sunk cost. That's a lot of sunk man hours. That's a lot of wasted time and frustrated employees. So understanding and making that decision from the top is really important. And sometimes as our businesses grow, we get a bit disconnected. I know when I was in the mortgage industry, I had a CEO, and now luckily this got walked back, but I had a CEO agree to provide audited financial statements on a monthly basis to the board of directors. A, stupid request. B, stupid agree, right? In the end, it got walked back. We only had to do them manually as what we were doing anyway per regulation. So, but these are the kinds of things that happen. Can we just get a raise your hand if you have had app overload? I guess we can't raise our, oh, there we are. Yeah, I'll raise my hand. Only 3 of us have had app overload. Okay, well, the rest of you are doing way better than us. All right.
Sorry, just to add in there, Kim put in the chat, and I know her hand is up, even though we can't see her. I do want to just do a little preface in here. There are lots of apps that I like, I recommend. Do not listen to me if it does not solve your need. I know that there are people that I've actually had direct conversations with and told them that if they're unsure, talk to me. Don't just sign up for it just because Tanya does it, because it might solve a different need for me. Like there's Liscio as an example. It solves a need for me, and we thank goodness we were able to get all the money back for that one person. But she went in and I'm like, well, why did you do it? And she says, because you said it's great. And I said, but what was the problem it was solving for you? And we broke it down and there was no problem there. She didn't have a problem. So I'm like, so you don't need it. So just because I say it, that means that I think it's good, but it still has to solve a need. And if you're unsure if it solves the need, talk to somebody. There's enough people in this community. Reach out to somebody, reach out to me. I'll help you break it down, because although there's a ton of apps out there and I might talk about them, I'm all about saving the money. And trust me, I'm saving it like each and every one of you. And when I'm not, I'm kicking myself in the butt because AppSumo is horrible for stuff like that. It's when I stand up and I say, I'm Tanya and I have an AppSumo problem. But thankfully they allow 60 days. So I just have to go in within the 60 days and evaluate and then decide, okay, is this truly useful or not? But do that. Just because Tanya or Jonathan or Steve or Kim or somebody else talks about it, make sure it solves a problem. If the problem did not exist for you, just move on and keep it in the back of your mind in case that problem comes up. Sorry, just had to say that.
No worries. I was also going to say, I really appreciate the community. If you're looking for a tool, get other opinions. Don't just go with what it is if you're recommending it to a third party. So recently I had that post in Bookkeeper's Corner about payment platforms, because I have a customer who's moving away from a payment platform and is looking for a new solution. They have certain requirements. They're a slightly larger organization. So, their needs might not be the same as what I would assume they would be, right? So it was interesting to get the feedback from everybody on that one. All right, I'm going to fly through a few of these because we need to make up a little bit of time here. So operating systems, that's the fundamentals. We've talked about that to a degree. Linux and Unix are quite often used in the larger organizations where they have massive ERP systems. And also you're going to have a server environment with that. Document management systems, this is the one that we got in a bit of a conversation about at the beginning. Now, I would love to have an update on this. We are Googlers, but I understand that when MS 365 has really improved. Has it gotten to the point where you can collaborate on the spreadsheet live with multiple team members, or is it still a versionitis issue?
It's not entirely live if you're both using like desktop apps, but you can see up at the top that others have made changes so you can refresh it. But if you're
Okay.
using the browser app, it's almost the same. So
It's
you can
almost the
see
same.
when someone is in there and you can see what cell they're on and you can see that they're typing. It works almost identical to Google Sheets in that way. But the thing I like the most about it is I can still use it on the browser and then still use it as an app. So I still get all the functionalities that I want as on the computer app. And I see Kathy is here. So she should be the one that speaks to this and not me.
Kathy, did you have anything you wanted to add there?
No, Microsoft has really stepped up its game in the last 2
Good.
years. The amazing things that you can do and single platforms that you can work out of. So like Amy's, talking about, yeah, we can work on this together. Well, you could actually be inside of Microsoft Teams working on that spreadsheet. So you could actually work underneath a single platform where all of your information is all gathered together. So there's no more lost data either, because
That's
everything
good.
is segregated where it should be. So it's a very different environment that's changed a lot in the last 2 years.
And
That's good.
I'd
That's
also
really
like
good
to
hear.
point out that, yes, if anybody is looking for something, Kathy actually is hands down the best, most knowledgeable person on stuff that Microsoft has. And she does have a course that is absolutely amazing. And you can save, like, just with if anybody has the Office subscription, seeing what's in there can save you a ton. So reach out to Kathy if you want, and definitely take a look at that, because it's like, yeah, huge money savings. And Kathy's always on top of all the changes. I was totally blown away. And I think, and we're only using about 10% of its capabilities, and we were able to, get rid of 5 or 6 apps on that.
That's
So,
amazing. That's tremendous. We actually still have MS 365, mainly because there is some power in Excel that does not exist in Sheets. Also, there are some things that you can do in Word that just don't translate as well when you actually have to print something on a piece of paper. I know, shocking. I actually had to do that the other day. My problem is I have to keep going back and relearning the software because I don't use it on a regular basis, but that's my problem. So another thing just about document management is the architecture and naming conventions. We talked about the naming conventions a bit, but the architecture is also important. You want consistency. You want clarity. If one of your team members is going into a customer account, they want to have every account look more or less the same and be organized in more or less the same fashion. So they don't have to spend a lot of time looking around for something. What I'm constantly encouraging my team to do is that they're just quickly looking for a file, use the naming convention in the Google search bar within the Google workspace. And, I'd say like 9 out of 10 times that shows up as the top hit because it was named properly. And then you can just open the file and Bob's your uncle, you can move on. One other quick thing about architecture is making sure that your data is segregated so that employees don't have access to confidential information they should not have access to. That's something that I'm very grateful for Workspace and for the Google support team actually in helping us set some things up in that regard. Having things like Google Vault are very helpful. We can go and when somebody's like, oh, you never sent that document, we can see that they deleted that document very easily, even after it's been removed from the trash bin after the fact. And they helped us set up security features and whatnot. So just some other considerations about document management. Communication, everyone has email, everyone has a phone. I imagine most of the people use chat. Does anybody have anything to add about any of these kinds of apps, these kinds of tools that maybe I haven't really mentioned? Are there people doing a lot of chatting on Facebook and LinkedIn or Twitter or Insta or whatever it might be? Yeah, me neither. The rule of one, right? Let's have it all in one place. MS Teams, of course. MS Teams has really impressed me lately. I know. Did that convert from Skype, or is Skype still a separate thing? It did convert from Skype. Yeah. So I know that one's really impressed me lately. All right. I'm not going to get into too much detail about this, but just, you want to make sure that you can reach people or and they can reach you or not by phone, depending on your choice. You want to have your email and your chat systems within your teams. One thing that we do that I highly recommend is segregate your chat within the office and don't pollute it with inviting people who are outside your office, outside your team, because you could end up with the situation where somebody doesn't have a safe space and thinks that they did, and feelings can get hurt, and it create a whole other sense of drama, have clients fire you, stuff like that. We have Zoom for internal, and then we're using Keeper as a big part of our back and forth with clients. So
Yeah.
I have this question here, expand on segregation. Turns out, oh, okay. So with regards to the segregation, I was thinking more of on an organizational level, Steve. So like you can have stuff like, so if we have a subcontractor, and currently we are working with a subcontractor overseas to help backfill a position, he gets access only to the file he's working on, only to the year he's working on, right? So that's very different than the automatic rules that I've created in Google. So in Google Workspace, all of our full-time team members have access to all of our customers. So if I need, if Tanya's on vacation and I need Neri to go get a file to send to a customer, she can do that. There's no roadblock in her way. Now, with regards to the more confidential stuff, like say, for instance, HR records, each teammate has access to their folder, but only their folder. We have 3 teammates, myself as being one of those, who have access to all the team's folders. And that's because it's required as part of their job. So that's kind of what I do there. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it gets there. This is something I've always had challenges with the staff we have, and sometimes you have some temp staff, or as you mentioned, subcontractors, and it's okay if they're working on one specific file. For tax season, for example, we had to have a new person dealing with all because they were at the review stage of the tax returns. So trying to determine what needs to be locked out as far as client personal information, personal data, and what isn't. I was just wondering if there was anything specific you'd use, but I understand what you're saying on how you worked it with specific files.
Yeah, like it really depends. Like I'm really actually trying to build our team more internally and use less subcontractors and temp labor, simply because the culture of our business is very, very important to me. And a big part of that is trust. Yeah, a big part of that is trust. So
with the general file setup, and I think this goes back to your initial question about the file naming convention and then the architecture behind it. We have a server that we use for our staff. So we've grouped it into different categories. So a certain level is just senior management. Then we have one that's available to everybody that includes training and client files. So we're trying to do it that way, but we're still finding that, what permissions do you give to somebody who has to do payroll for this and not for that? So anyway, it's an interesting topic. So thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah. Wherever we can, we store the information on the client's location. Right. So like say, for instance, TD1 forms, TD1 federal forms, those will be stored with the client's data, not necessarily on our drive.
Yeah, and that's kind of how I do it too. So what we've got is I've got in SharePoint, and then we do a couple of things in Google, but my whole team has access to everything. That if I'm dealing with a subcontractor, they have access to what they need to have access to for that client. If they're doing payroll, they're going to have access to the full file. If they're not doing payroll, maybe they've only got Dex and QBO access or whatnot. But everybody, my team and my contract and the client are all sign NDAs saying that the whole team will have access to everything. If there is something that they want kept separately from a client, basically they're going to have to talk to me about it. But why? Why is there something my whole team can't have access to? My whole team has signed NDAs, all of this stuff. So I've got myself covered from that. And if there's, and they don't have access. The only thing that we segregate out really, other than the contractors, the subcontractors, is the client's access. So if there's a client who has an employee who is working in one and they want them, we segregate out their access, but internally, I don't understand the need for that because everybody signed NDAs and are all working confidentially anyway. That's just my thoughts, my 2 cents on it.
Well, just to give a quick peek behind the curtain, these are all of our shared drives. All of our team will have access to this. All of our team will have access to this. All of our team will have access to this. The rest of them, it'll be select if they're needed, right? Everybody will have their own folder that they can use for stuff. HR is closely guarded. Marketing is the people who need to be involved. Projects are internal projects, so not everybody has access. And same with the technology.
And I'm
give-
set up exactly the same way as you, Jonathan. Again,
Yeah.
HR, I'm the only one who's got access to the HR folder. Internally, nobody else needs to. Marketing, Leanne's got access to marketing. It doesn't mean there's anything confidential, but why overwhelm Sandra with
Yeah.
something that she doesn't need? Unless she needs it, then we'll turn around and pull that up, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, let me share screen again. So we're running through this time. This should have been maybe a bigger subject, just because there's so much involved. Just a quick comment about bookkeeping, accounting, and tax software. Not everything is created equally. I think a lot of people here are either QBO or Xero based for the most part. There are some things that just really bug me. Like FreshBooks was proud to now use double entry accounting, something that's 1,000 years old. Like, it's like, come on, guys, you should have probably started with that. Don't announce it like a big marketing win. You should have been embarrassed. But I'm glad that they've done that. I'm glad that they're improving on that way. Harvest is an expense and invoice system that is very popular amongst engineers and architects. I've seen a few other types of organizations use it. I like what it does, but it doesn't give you a balance sheet. It's essentially what FreshBooks was, but now FreshBooks can give you a balance sheet as well. NetSuite, I'm interested to learn more. I understand the price point is significantly higher than most of the other programs that are out there, but it's something that I'm starting to explore more. And Zoho is interesting, but it doesn't play well with others. Right? They're trying to capture the entire market. And I think at last count, there was something like 37 different apps that can plug together, from books to CRM to AI, BI. Like, there's so many different things that can plug together. They're out of India. Very interesting company. I only have a handful of clients who are using them, but I'm enjoying getting to learn it. And I think I'd like to go a little bit deeper in that realm because it's an interesting one. And then tax, just remember your software must be certified by CRA. And just because it's certified by CRA does not mean that it's going to be perfect. Steve, what are you sending us? Oh, server structure. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to keep on going. So security, this would be a good one. And I want people's opinions on this. So, security is something that every firm should have top of mind. The weakest thing in all security is the individuals, the human element. It's the person clicking on the phishing email. It's the person working on a public Wi-Fi at Starbucks. It's the person walking away from their computer while it's open with confidential information up. There are some basic things we can do, like having firewalls, having secure file sharing platforms, having virus scanners, malware detectors, and keeping things updated. That always bugs me. When I'm meeting with somebody and I see that their Google Chrome isn't up to date, there's probably a security patch that's missing. And that's something that needs to be done. It's like, for us, it's not very long, it's 7 whole slides, but we have an educational program we want every new hire through, and we revisit as a team once a year, and we update it once a year to make sure that, we're keeping up on the most recent security threats and things like that. I know some of people in our network have had security breaches and have had security hacks. The biggest problem that we've had is with damaged equipment. We've had 2 situations where laptops have gone down. And in one of those situations, the person was back up and running within 45 minutes. That included the trip to go to the store to buy a new laptop. So that made me feel really good about how we have set up our cloud infrastructure, that there was nothing on that laptop that needed to be recovered. It had to be wiped, but there was nothing on there that had to be recovered, right? Because there would have been stuff in the cache memory. But yes, anyway, security software. Does anybody have a favorite, a horror story, something else? Yes.
I will jump up. I do have some favorites. The first thing that I would say, and Kathy may have lots to say too, because she is huge on security as well. But the one thing that I learned from my security guy, first off, is don't go with what everybody else is going. The big names out there are actually the ones that get hacked more often. So I use Viper. There are tons of them out there that you can use, but if you go with the McAfee's and the Nortons and those big names, they are getting hacked more often, or people are trying to, because then they can be like, oh, look, I hacked Norton, I hacked this. So I think that's the first thing that I learned. Second thing is and I saw this on, it was Dragon's Den or Shark Tank. And yes, I love that show. It's bad. It's just like AppSumo to me. So, but it's called Fix Me Stick. And this was created, it's very cheap to buy. I think it's like $100 a year or something like that. And it's up to 3 computers. What it does is it was created by guys that worked for Google, and it was McAfee or Norton, one of the big ones. And they worked for a couple of different of the companies. And they were like, people are going out there charging a fortune for this. So if your computer guy takes it, he was actually running the non-commercial version of this in the back end. And essentially what it does is it breaks your computer down. So if you get it, run it at night, and it breaks the computer down. So if you're running live when you're in Windows and running any of them, even Viper that I use, it's going and it's looking, and it's basically, think of a library. It's grabbing a book off and putting the book back, and grabbing a book off, putting the book back. The virus can then jump to any book on there. So it can jump back and hide in a book that it's already taken off and looked at and said is fine. And it's not going to go back to that. When you use Fix Me Stick or any of what the other guys do, the computer guys, it actually shuts it down and runs it in DOS. And when it takes the books off the shelf, reads it, it puts it onto a different shelf that is basically partitioned, so it can't do that, and it finds everything. So I run this regularly, and it's like $99 a year for like, and I've been doing this for over a decade anyway. And when I went in, both at that time, it was the highest investment on the show when I did the research afterwards, and both Kevin O'Leary, so with Dragon's Den, Kevin O'Leary, Robert Herjavec, and Bruce Croxon, and Robert and Bruce are both have security companies, all went in and are partners in this company. They actually did go through, and I was like, wow, that super impressed me. It's a really cheap way to do it, but that still does it after the fact. So you still want to keep your stuff that does it before the fact. Can I also share something really quick that I just learned at QB Vancouver that is amazing, and I showed my team today? If you go bring up your Google, because a lot of issues are with trackers and stuff, go into any Google. So there's a few things. First off, if you go into settings, and then privacy and security, and then I'll shut up so everybody else can talk. But you clear browsing data. First off, make sure it's advanced, all time, everything is selected. Once you've got that, go into cookies and other site data. You can click this off, clear cookies and site data, when you close all windows. So the minute you close, your cache is being cleared automatically, and send a do not track request with your browsing data. That will help keep, if you're using Chrome, secure. There's the exact same things in Edge. So the minute you close all of my windows, it automatically clears my cache, so you don't have to worry about that. Another cool thing that this is in Edge and Chrome, if you click on extensions, any extension here, so I use NordPass and NordVPN, so I always have a VPN turned on. If you click your extension, click on more actions and manage the extension, you can click to allow it in incognito, which is really cool. I learned
That's
that
cool.
too.
I did not know that.
Yes, yes. And that
That's
was
cool.
really, really cool. So now if I go into incognito, so essentially we're working from incognito all the time. So we don't have to worry about the cookies and all that. Here's my NordPass. I can access my NordPass and my VPN is turned on here. And of course, there's Rate Tool, which is another rate tool for QuickBooks. Had to
Awesome.
share that, and I'm going to stop talking now.
We are getting low on time, so I'm going to keep trying to barrel through some things here. Apologies for how brief I'm going to touch on some things, but I think it is important. Everybody needs to have a basic firewall, basic malware, basic virus scanner. Opinions are all over the board. I have also moved away from the bigger names for the most part. McAfee, I found, was often getting a tracking tool or redirect tool for Yahoo search showing up in Chrome. And it happened every time I was using McAfee. So I just got rid of McAfee altogether. And that was something nice. OCR, this is in the more category, optical character recognition, Dext, HubDoc, QBO receipt capture, auto entry. I don't know if there's any others that are popular that I've missed here, but I will say that my favorite is Dext, followed by flip a coin between HubDoc and QBO receipt capture, depending on who the application is for and how price sensitive they are. What those tools do is essentially read stuff and set up to go in your system. AI and machine learning is often working in the background on some of your tools, and you might not even realize it. I do know that the machine learning in QBO really drives me nuts when somebody's trying to DIY their own file, and QuickBooks suggests a rule, and they just auto accept and add all, and the next thing you know, they have an absolute pile of garbage that just requires a massive cleanup at the end of the year. I think this is going to improve a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of changes to that and how that works coming down the pipe. But I think with both cases, they still require a human eye. You still need somebody to look at it and to go, hey, what is going on here? I did see something come through as just an accounts payable, but I don't know why Dex missed the decimal place, and which is a $213,000 payable when it's $2,130, completely missed the decimal place. So those kind of things, like, unless it's consistently good, we tend not to, at our firm anyway, put on auto publish. There are a few things we do auto publish when they're consistent and they're consistently correct. We require a decent sample first, and then of course we're doing QA at the end. Just some of the stuff out there in AI that people are having fun with. I think everybody's played with ChatGPT. If you haven't, go do it. It's fun. The next thing I want to do is I want to see what the world knows about me. So I'm going to put that through ChatGPT. That'll be interesting. Oh, thank you, Kathy, for the comment about the BIOS. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm just going to throw this out there. I think we're getting towards the end of the actual slides, which is good. We're getting caught up. There's so many apps for that. I really try not to adopt an app unless I need to. And if I'm going to stop using an app, it is important to take that time to do it properly. Don't just uninstall the app. You need to purge your information. Your information exists out there and is at risk of hack. So it is important to do that appropriately, and it's a pain in the butt. In some organizations, it's extremely painful to do that. So it's something to keep in mind when you're adopting a new app is, how are you going to fire that app? So just some considerations about adapting apps. Is the task that you're doing it for robotic and repetitive, or does it require knowledge and judgment? How much time does it take, and who's it assigned to? And does adopting the app reflect a positive ROI? And how much time and training are required to implement the app? I also, something that I didn't write down here, but something that I do, is I send the terms of service. If I'm using it for commercial purposes, we send the terms of service to my law firm, and they're really amazing about just reviewing stuff. I pay a monthly subscription, and they review it and let me know if there's any concerns. And generally speaking, in the world out there of terms and service, nobody accepts responsibility for anything. So in the end, I don't know who's supposed to get sued if something goes right, left side or right side, but I think the damaged person can sue everybody and possibly have a case there. All right. Are there any apps that anybody loves that are completely out of left field? I know Right Tool, I'm dying to dig into that one, but I have not yet. Anybody else have any other apps that really strongly deserve mention? Keeper is one I mentioned that really helps us with workflow and client communications, quality assurance.
One thing
Starting to use Right Tool.
Oh, sorry, are we allowed
Go
to
for
speak?
it. Yes, go.
Okay. I noticed that someone wrote Otter earlier and I commented because Otter's wonderful. Absolutely. It does cost a fair amount of money to get a lot of features if you're going to be doing lots of meetings, longer meetings, things like that. I learned this week because I have this thing that I'm doing like every 3 months and I have like a 2-hour meeting that I'm apparently the secretary for and have to take minutes and I'm not good at that. So I've been recording it so I can go back and listen. And I noticed that in Microsoft Word, they have the transcription part where you can actually drop and drag an audio and it gives it on the side. It breaks it into small things and you can actually add like things directly from it and do the same things that you can do in Otter. And yeah, it's just not in its own tidy little spot, but it's in each document. So I found that that was super helpful. And if you already pay for Office, but you pay whatever, then it's included and the super cool feature. So anyways, those are my 2 cents.
I see Kathy nodding away there. You mentioned Camtasia and Snagit. I use Filmora, but honestly, I don't use it very often anymore. I know Canva's very popular still. That's another popular one. Anything else that really deserves mention? What is the app that has most blown you away in the last 365 days? For me, it's Keeper. Nobody?
I like Fathom.ai.
Fathom, okay.
Yeah, Fathom.ai. It's a meeting transcription, but it only works with Zoom. They are expanding it through for like, Google and Teams and all of that stuff. And it's currently still free. But that is actually very, very good for live meetings. It does the summaries. You can click on it and it'll automatically capture and write a little summary if you're like, oh, I want to follow up for that or this or that, so you can be more present in the meeting. So it's kind of similar to what Amy, but it's restrictive to what it works with.
Interesting. Steve, I'm just going to advance the slide, but I want to hear more about how you're using Chat GPT. ZenNet, I've loved their LinkedIn content lately. Toby, I haven't tried at all. I don't even know what that is. So Sandra, I'm going to want to know. And then, yeah, let's just get this out of the way with regards to poll question 2, so everyone can get their CPD. And if people have to go because, we're at the top of the hour, they can go. But if you have time to stick around, Sandra and Steve, I'd like to pick your brains a bit more about those things.
I don't know what's left of the brain after tax season there, Jonathan, but yeah.
Oh, I hear you there. How are you using ChatGPT? Just asking
What?
questions,
I have to
seeing what
say,
happens.
the question that you asked about what was most software that was most stunning or most interesting or something. This is just one that just blew me away. Now, as far as using it applicable to the business right now, not really a lot. I have to say, it's more of exploring what the thing can do and being surprised how much is out there. Simple things like just prepping procedures or policies. Say, hey, here's some idea. Write up give me a sketch outline of what I should do for this, or a proposal or a sales draft. Give me an idea. Just give me an outline. And the thing is incredible. I had my brother's wedding on the weekend. I said, give me an outline for a wedding speech, and just surprised at there. So that's the most surprising aspect that I've seen in a software that's come out, that the AI aspect is just unreally good. just unbelievably good.
You can use it for letters to clients, engagement letters, all of this stuff. I do want to throw out there, anybody who's on the Insightful Accountant email list probably got this. And as soon as I'm done, I'll close. Oh, everybody's participated. So I'll end the poll. So that's great. Share the results. But ChatGPT passed the bar exam. It passed the Wharton MBA exam. It passed the MCATs, and it bombed the accounting exam with 44 point something percent.
The first time, the
Wow.
second time it beat it over, it passed it with 80%. The
Oh,
second
did it?
time it took it.
Okay, it
This-
learned.
Like
it learned.
literally it gave it a month, and the second time it took it, it like aced it pretty much.
Okay, I wasn't
Still
updated on
scary.
that. But
Wow.
and I
That's
think
amazing.
what that shows is what we do. It's not just 1 + 1 = 2, that there are so many variables to what we do. And I love the fact that it failed it. I'm going to do up a blog and just not mention that it passed it the second time, and just to go into clients to be like, you know what, you thought what we did was easy. Mm-mm.
I love
Too many
that. That's
variables.
amazing. That's great.
So
Thank you.
it passed with its second time with an average score of 85.1.
And that's actually impressive.
Which
because I think
exam
it's
though?
that
I
people-
wonder.
It says the CPA.
Yeah,
Yeah, so probably the US CPA exam.
Yeah.
yeah, because they did it in the US, not the Canadian.
Yeah, and theirs is rules based, right? Where ours is principles based. So it'd be interesting to see how it did that when I have to make judgment calls.
Oh, it'll
Right.
bomb.
Absolutely,
It'll
yeah.
bomb. We
The
know
C-
it can't make judgment calls.
CPA Canada, yeah.
Steve,
Yeah.
I
Um,
agree with you. It's like an absolutely fabulous thing. Like I had a client ask me, like, what do you actually do? So I literally wrote, what does a bookkeeper do? And it came out with like 15 steps about what a bookkeeper does on a monthly basis. I was like, here you go. Like, this is what I do every month. And this is like, and I'm like, can you make that easier? Like, can you make that sound stupider kind of thing? So like make
Yeah.
it like 8 words each sentence.
Yeah.
Like, and it did,
Yeah.
it dumbed it down. So I could be like, here's what I do.
One thing
That's
that
amazing.
from a bookkeeper perspective, it's definitely a little bit easier. Accounting perspective or accountant perspective might be a little bit more of a time or dumbing it down. But if you take your profit and loss, now when I copy and paste into ChatGPT, I leave the client name out of it, but I take my P&L, copy and paste it in, and do the same thing with the balance sheet. And I tell me to write a summary that I can give to a client who knows nothing about accounting. And then it comes up with something.
that's
and I say,
awesome.
dumb that
Work.
down, take that, copy and paste it in, and it's a nice brief summary. So,
It really works. You
Yeah.
can analyze the financial. I have not tried it with the financial statements. Now, of course, that's what I'm going to do all the time. Wow.
well, and
Thank
like
you.
I say, it's
I have
You know,
one
for you
saved I can
guys-
show you.
you guys are in it more often. Bookkeepers are we probably spend more time analyzing it because, we don't necessarily analyze the financials on a day-to-day basis, but it's huge time saver on that, where you just plunk it in. Like I say, I keep the client's name out of it so that there's no personal or identifying information in there. But it rates.
I like the idea as a
Beautiful.
learning tool though for my staff though, because that's
Yeah.
something that I'm trying to bring them to all the time is I want you to understand what am I going to do with this data so that when you're doing the bookkeeping, when you're doing the prep, it's not just plunking in numbers and leaving it. It's understanding what that number does. Like, how does it affect when it goes to the financial statements? Now, what does it mean when you compare it year to year? So I want them to learn it. And it sounds like if that's a tool that can be used, wow, that's powerful. I
Absolutely.
didn't realize you could import like tables in there.
Yep.
I didn't realize that could be done.
Yeah, because you copy and paste it right in, just like your whatever, because it copies and pastes it in, not necessarily as an Excel document or as a table, it just pastes the data.
Yeah, it's just pasted almost as text. And that's what I didn't realize it was there. That's fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I was messing around at a CPP event with somebody from zero, and we got it to produce code, how a rook moves in chess. He said his brother actually got it to provide all the code to essentially program it to play chess. Like, that was pretty neat. I got examples of hashes from it. I prepared one of the Bookkeepers Bootcamp webinars using it. I got the outline from there, and that's where I did notice there's still a lot of data bias, and there's a lot of stuff that you need to be knowledgeable and have a critical mind. You can't just take it as the truth.
Yep.
Right? So like the top thing that it came back with what bookkeepers and accountants can do to prepare for the future of accounting is subscribe to cloud accounting software. That was the top thing. Because there's so much advertising about it, it's even a larger sample of it producing that, loading that answer.
Well,
yeah.
some other things that you can use it for, you can use it for blogs. I use it, I don't copy word for word in these.
Yeah,
my
I'm
voice,
wondering about
but
the
I use it for
IP issues
inspiration.
there.
There
Yeah,
is actually no
yeah.
IP. They do not
Inspiration and
consider
outlines, I don't
intellectual
think there's an
content.
issue, but I think you should not be just producing
No,
that
no,
out.
no. Well, that's like I said, that's an ethical thing, but I
Yeah.
use it if I need
We've talked about this ad
inspiration.
nauseam.
I go in and I use that for inspiration, and then I take it, give me, and I actually do the opposite, because that's what I do when I want to get all fired up to write a blog. I go in and I find something. If somebody says, oh, write a blog about the pros of cloud accounting, I actually go in, and if I'm having difficulty, I go in and I find blogs or Chat GPT to tell me what are the cons. So it gets me all fired up, so that way
Yeah.
I know it's my own word. I do happen to know somebody in our, I'm not going to mention their name, but somebody within the North American accounting industry who does courses in Chat GPT, basically writes their courses. Then they take them and they put them into, oh my God, what did they tell me it was? There's basically a transcription tool, which then takes that, or voice tool, which takes the word and then voices it, and then into Pictory, which then adds video. And I'm like, that's how you came up with, like 30 courses in the span of 30 days. I thought you just were sitting there doing this straight, but they're like, nope, they just run it on that. Of course. And then they go back. I know this person well enough to know that they go in and actually look at it and do add a little bit of their own voice and change it. But if you want to use it for education purposes, like there's so many different things you can use it for.
Yeah. Sandra, you mentioned Toby and I'd never heard of it. I gotta ask, what is Toby?
Oh, you actually introduced me to Toby. It's a free Chrome extension. If you want, I can actually share my screen. I have it up here.
Sure.
Tanya, I can't share.
Should be able to share now.
Okay, let's see. So really, I just go in, and this is basically where I start my day, because on my daily, I can just go like this and hit open tab, and it opens all the tabs that I use on a
that's
daily
so cool.
basis. Yeah, so and then I can just go in and do that, and then so I have different tabs. So depending what I'm working on, if I'm working on taxes, I can just go to taxes. If I'm doing payroll, I can go to payroll, just different things. Here's my other tab. And it just expands and opens it all up. And if you close it like this, then it will just close everything all at once, and you're done. So, and I love it. It's a free extension, and honestly, it's less clicking on different apps and different things. It just opens everything up. It's awesome.
It's amazing how much just saving. It doesn't seem like a lot, but let's say you save 2 clicks in a process, but you do that process every single day. Well, that could add up to like 20 minutes over the year, right? That can really add up. I want to share one more thing, if I might. This is kind of like an early step that we do with our sorry, got to exit the presentation. With our people when we set them up. You go settings in your Chrome, and then on startup, you can have a specific set of pages open up. So I have all my emails open up. I have, various things that I use on a regular basis, but everybody's is different. Everyone's is different depending on what they're working on. Is that kind of like what Toby does? But you can do it on a more granular scale. So it's like, I just need to work on payroll. So I click payroll, opens those things.
Exactly. It's exactly the same as a startup, but the startup, it just opens that. So here you're like, okay, if I, when I'm doing this, I just want these 5 to open, boom, they all 5 open. And
So
I
like
love
you
it
might
that I
have
see
your
the team using stuff that I bring to them.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so yeah, I know we're way over, and I just want to be respectful of people's time, but
So I
sorry,
just
Tanya,
wanted
what
to
were you
say
saying?
in here too, though, like Carolyn, the Chat GPT to fire a client, like if she, oh yeah, Carolyn's still here. That's awesome. What I actually use it for is I type in exactly what I want to say to the client, curse words and all. And then I go, please make this more professional and take out any personal things. So that way I got my frustrations out and then I don't have to work. Because I used to open an email and then not put a to just in case I accidentally hit send. But now I just use ChatGPT for that. And then ChatGPT cleans it up very nice and professional for me, but I still got to get out my
Oh, that's hilarious. Because I know we've had conversations about how you're taking 2 days to write an email because you don't want to be a total jerk in it. Yeah.
and ChatGPT, I don't have to spend those 2 days. I can
That's
throw
amazing.
everything out there and then I don't have to wait. Yeah, that's my process. My process is I need to get it all out and it's brutal. Even Jonathan at one point, there was something with accountants and even Jonathan was like, wow, Tanya, this is pretty. Yeah. Amy,
That's why I was
hard enough
laughing
to do.
because I was there. I remember the three of us
Yeah.
in the email and Jonathan, he's like, wow. I'm like,
Like it's,
it just needs a
and
day.
it is.
It's the
but
process.
Those were the worst of, that's just my process. That's the worst of my feelings. And I just get it all out. And then, yes, it takes 2 to 3 days for me to calm down, get the feel, opinions from everybody going, Tanya, like, it's not worth it. It's this and it's that. Chat GPT takes all of that out. So it's just boom, I do it. And then I just wait a day or two before I send it just to make sure that there's not anything else I want to add into Chat GPT. But yeah, it definitely helps with that process.
Excellent. That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
We'll call that my native temper. It's one heck of a temper when it gets going.
Well, I know we're almost 15 minutes over. Thanks very much for everybody for joining us.